There's a trend right now where masculinity is almost being demonized, but let me be very clear. Masculinity is not the problem. The lack of healthy masculinity is. There's a quote I love that says, "If you are scared of a masculine man, wait till you see the damage that a weak one can do." We don't have too much masculinity in the world like a lot of people think. We actually have a huge lack of divine masculinity, and many men operating from the wounded masculine energy. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what the divine masculine is, how to recognize it in a man, and how to spot a wounded masculine, so you don't waste your time. Before I get into it, I want to point out that there is a huge spiritual war going on right now that is not only internal, but it's playing out in dating, relationships, family dynamics, business, and overall the world. There's a lot of women rising, stepping into their power, awakening, and I'm not saying that men are not. A lot of them also are, but I have noticed a trend where women are very, very afraid of men or masculine energy overall. Because with the history of the world and the things that have happened, we can basically recognize that these women have only experienced like the wounded masculine, the controlling, the abusive, manipulative, emotionally unavailable, unreliable, power-hungry type of men that we see out there. That's not divine masculinity. I'm here to give you some hope, especially ladies here or anybody that dates men, I don't know, but I'm here to give you some hope because that's not what divine masculinity is. Period. I have a husband who's straight up in the divine masculine. I have many friends who also have amazing husbands. And I'm here to let you know that masculinity, or like at least the divine masculinity, is not dead. It's out there and it exists. What you have experienced is quite literally the shadow of the masculine energy, what happens when you disconnect from the heart. And I'm not saying the feminine doesn't have a shadow. I always cover the shadow of the feminine, but today we're going to speak about the masculine. So today you're going to learn exactly how to tell apart the two so you never get fooled again. So let's cover what the divine masculine energy is. So in order for me to explain the masculine energy, I have to explain the principle of gender. So the principle of gender is one of the 7 hermetic principles, which, if you don't know, Hermeticism is one of the most ancient philosophies there has been, comes from Egypt, written basically by Hermes Trismegistus. It's a powerful philosophy that a lot of ancient civilizations actually follow and have their whole foundations on, like the Incas, the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Sumerians, Hinduism, Kemet, Vedic science, Taoism, so many different ancient teachings. So it states basically that there are 2 energies that create reality, right? These are cosmic forces, not sex, let's say. But the sexes were created after the masculine and feminine energy, because in order to procreate, we need these 2 energies, right? In order for anything to be created, you need masculine and feminine energy. So think of the feminine energy, and I'm gonna put it in blue because a lot of people don't realize that the feminine energy is actually in blue because it represents the water element. So the feminine energy, think of it as this ball with the ideas, with the heart, with the vision, and then when it becomes or explodes into reality, like kind of like the Big Bang, the masculine energy, which is the fire element, right here, orders that into existence. So think of the feminine energy almost like the matrix that reality is, and then the masculine energy is the coder of the matrix. So you can see right here, I did a little tiny yin and yang, because you probably know this principle quite literally from the yin and yang, which is such a popular symbol, but it is a symbol that represents the masculine and feminine energy and the duality that life has, with yin being the darkness, and no, it's not darkness because it's bad or it's dark or whatever. It is darkness because it is the internal world. It's what's inside. It's the heart, right? The emotions, the vibration, the ideas, etc. Everything that's inside, right? The subconscious mind as well. And then we have yang, which is the light, the white part, not because it's good, but because it's in the external. It is the consciousness. It is the ideas, the ego, the identity, everything that we see external. And also the formulation of the materialization, that word is so hard for me, I have an accent. The materialization of the physical world, right? Because the masculine energy takes the feminine energy and orders it into reality. And believe it or not, in order to truly be a divine masculine, you need to know about the feminine energy, right? You need to have that connection with the feminine energy, and I'm going to break down right now why. So let's break down the archetypes really quick of the feminine energy, because I know this is not about the feminine energy, but we do need to cover it in order to understand. So right here we have the masculine and feminine energy once again, with water being represented by the feminine energy and fire representing the masculine energy. So right here we have the two primordial and cosmic forces that create all reality, including you, including everything around you. Anything you ever create, you use these two energies to create. So the feminine is represented by water and the masculine is represented by fire, because it is that action, right? That ordering principle, the will. So the feminine energy is once again the internal world. It is the emotions. It is the creativity itself, like the idea, right? And because of that, it is also the heart. Okay, the heart. This is why the feminine energy is also the love, or the love right here, I put an S instead of an L. The love for others. It is the compassion, right? Forgiveness, that ability to connect with the collective. And once again, these are two energies that we all have inside of us, regardless of your sex. Of course, the sexes, the bodies, the two bodies were created after these two energies, like I said, so they were created to retain more of the energy they were created after. But right here we are going to cover exactly what happens, when it goes into an imbalance. But anyways, once again, the feminine is the internal and the masculine is the external, meaning this also is the ego, right? And I don't mean the ego as in like, you being above everybody. Your ego is something that you need in order to survive in this physical world. It's literally your identity. Like, if you didn't have an ego, you wouldn't be able to tell me apart from you, or tell you apart from the computer that you're watching this on. You would just be one with everything, right? So it's super important. It is the identity, the ability to have an individual experience. Okay, so because of that, it is the self-love as well, which is super important. This is the protector inside of you, because your ego protects you, and sometimes it can do it in a toxic way, which we're gonna get into. But it is also the protector. It is the order. Okay, it is the logic, and it is also the action, the will. And because the feminine is the heart, the masculine is the mind. But it's not the whole mind, right? Like with the subconscious, because the subconscious is the feminine. Since right here you have emotions, and the subconscious is made of literally emotions, of vibration. It is the conscious mind, like what you can see in the external. And one thing I forgot to add in the feminine, if the masculine is order, the feminine is flow. So let me tell you about the divine masculine, okay? Because the divine masculine cannot be the divine masculine if it doesn't have a relationship with these two energies. Okay, so for example, when somebody is having a great balance, let's say a man is in his divine masculine, in order for him to be in his divine masculine, he must embody more masculine energy, but he does not forget about his feminine. This is so important to understand. The divine masculine is connected to the emotions. Okay, he is connected to his flow. He is connected to his heart. He's connected to other people, right? But he's not more in the feminine energy. He's more in his masculine. So he's somebody who is definitely taking action in his life, taking accountability. This is really important. He takes accountability. He takes responsibility. If there's something that this person does wrong, they will take accountability for it. They don't blind themselves. They also are people who take order, who take almost the feminine energy of their partner, right? For example, my husband, he's right there. He sets my whole setup up. He also handles my back end in my business. He helps me out in the household. He orders the finances. He orders everything. Like, he is somebody who takes my ideas, my vision, etc., and he makes it a reality through his ordering. Okay, he's also somebody that helps me. I'm not saying that women are not logical at all, actually, because I'm super air ruled by Mercury. But he's somebody that whenever I get very, very, very frustrated, or I, start to get in my mind, he brings the logic and he brings me down to earth. So he's very grounding, but not in a cold way. Because the thing about the masculine energy is that he's so connected to the heart and to that connection with other people that he understands the boundaries that there are, where you can become cold and very unempathetic in a sense. Also, the masculine is somebody who's building things in the external world, has definitely a really, really, really good identity that is built. So they're very sure of themselves. It's not cockiness, it's quite literally real confidence that they do embody. They're very sure of themselves. They know the projects that they're working on. They're, aligned with their heart. So they're not just doing for the results. They're also enjoying the experience of actually working for the things that they want. They do have a lot of self-love. So they're people who set boundaries very clearly. They're people who can help you set boundaries as well, who tell you, hey, that person's not good for you, right? If you have somebody toxic in your life, for example. And of course, you got the protector. This is somebody who's gonna provide. And I know that there's a trend going on right now with like Cheer 7, for example, one of the that creator. I'm not around judging her, but personally I feel like only dating somebody because of the finances and focusing on that, it's something that for me, I love I love, and I think you can have both the finances, the provider, and have genuine love in your life. And that's something that a true divine masculine brings to you. So for example, when I met my husband, he didn't have any money. He was living in his parents' house. He also lived in like a very, very, very bad area in Chile, like from barrios. And he didn't have anything. Like he came from poverty that is literally in South America. And it's the love that he had for me was what got him out of that. He actually was really in love with me. Obviously, he saw his feminine as his vision, right? His heart. That projection in the future, and he used that in order to create the life that he has for himself now. So I'm not telling you like go date a broke guy, but I promise you that a lot of these divine masculine men are he's laughing over there. But I promise you, divine masculine men, if they truly, truly love you, they will literally build an empire in your name, because you represent the family, right? You represent the heart. You represent this love, right? This family that he's gonna create with you, or this life, even if you guys don't have kids, this life that you guys are gonna create together. You are his motivator, right? You are the feminine. And that's the beautiful thing, because of course he has his feminine energy, but the couple itself, right? Couples are meant to complement each other. So you are gonna have to be more in the feminine energy, or you have the vision, you hold the heart, you are the flow as well, right? The creativity. And you're somebody who helps him with his vision, right? I've been able to help my husband find more of his purpose, his voice, who he wants to impact in this world. And I think that's so beautiful about both of us, because we're able to connect with or almost complement each other in the perfect way. So that is the divine masculine. This is somebody who provides, somebody who protects, somebody who gives order in your life, who tries to take away as much of the external responsibility from you. My husband, or I always reference my husband, because I really do believe that I am in a relationship with a divine masculine. And obviously I teach the law of duality. So I've been able to see that. But he's somebody who takes the weight off of you, so you can settle into this flow, so you can settle into the feminine. But a lot of people think these are people that overwork all the time and they have no time for you. Baby girl, that is not divine masculine energy. It's not. I get somebody who makes a lot of money. Yes, they're gonna be working, but they're also going to dedicate time to you, quality time too, because they want to see you doing well. They want to see you happy. Okay, somebody who is in the divine masculine will literally tell you happy wife, happy life, because that is so true. Making his wife, making his female counterpart happy is actually something that makes him happy, because when she's happy, that is when everything starts to flourish. It's like a little garden. The woman is the earth, right? You keep watering the garden, you keep treating it good, and she's going to bloom, and she's gonna make your house look amazing, your home, your When I say home, I don't just mean the house, right? That of course as well. But I mean your whole mental environment. That is a divine masculine. If I think of something else, or because I do brainstorm a lot while I'm making videos, I'll add to it, okay? We need to keep this here because when the masculine goes into the wounded, it goes into extremes. Anyways, there are two types of wounded masculine, especially right now, because there is, in my opinion, an agenda that is working towards getting people into the extreme of the feminine, which you can find right here in this video where I break down the agenda to depolarize people and control them, because when people are in the extreme of the feminine, they're much easier to control than if they're in this extreme. They're actually extremely hard to control here. But anyways, let's cover this. So let's cover first the feminine man. This is the man with a balance or imbalance in his divine feminine energy, where he goes into an extreme. When somebody is in their divine masculine or divine feminine, they are having a really great marriage with these two energies inside of them, so they're able to create from that place. It's beautiful. And these two work in a marriage, creating heaven according to mysticism, right? Like heaven is the ability to be more connected to God and also, of course, have more conscious control over your reality, which you can have only when you have these two energies in a great marriage within you. And when they are at an imbalance, that's when you create hell. You disconnect more from God, oneness, etc. And you also lose control over your reality. So you start to manifest reality, let's just say, from subconscious fears and disconnection, which we're gonna talk about right now. Anyways, so the man that goes into the imbalanced feminine energy neglects order, okay? What happens when flow neglects order? It becomes chaos. It becomes emotional chaos as well. I am putting here emotional domination because it's somebody who becomes dominated by emotions. They go too in the creative energy, but they don't take action. So this is kind of the archetype of the very creative man who is probably also an artist, but they don't do anything with their lives. They say that they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. They never take action. So lack of action. They also have, of course, they have all these ideas, they have all these things, but they never actually put them into action. So this is somebody who in a relationship, for example, tells you, I'm gonna go and do this, I'm gonna go and do that, I'm gonna do, all these things with my life, and they just never take accountability. Either they're super, super, super broke, or they just are very in the victim mindset. So this is a victim mindset. Why? Because the masculine energy is the ability to take accountability for yourself. It is the individual, right? In a healthy state. So victim mentality. This is also somebody who could have like this moral higher complex or something like that, where they believe that they are better than others because they are more like compassionate, or they're more like for the earth. I've seen a lot of the people that are here maybe being activists, or men that are like feminists, or they are just for these groups, right? Because the thing about this group is that they also don't really have much of an identity themselves, because they're missing like the identity, literally. So they try to like fit in to places so much. Like they try to fit in, they become part of all these different groups. They don't even know if they like actually believe in that or not. And in a lot of these groups, they have these moral complexes where like, if you are vegan or whatever, then you believe you're better than that other person. Anyways, so the interesting thing about here, you can see this as the very spiritual men. I'm not saying the divine masculine is not spiritual, quite the contrary. They have a very close relationship with God, like with the God within. But I will be completely honest, a lot of these people, I don't know if you've ever heard of these spiritual men who are very, let's just say like very into spiritual, but from an egotistical place. And I'm gonna explain why later, because you're like, oh, but they're going really in the internal world. No, right? Because here it's also emotional manipulation. They make you feel like there's like something spiritual going on with you and them, something like that, right? So two in the spiritual. So also they don't make money, they don't do anything with their lives. But another thing about here is that the divine feminine energy is the archetype of the fallen yin, right? It is the fallen yin that is the Luciferian energy. So this is hypersexuality. So this is something that I've noticed a lot in men, that men who are addicted to porn, for example, they're addicted to porn. They sexualize everything around them. They're very hypersexual. They're super feminine too. They give away their seed, and as you know, as you probably know it, or if you don't know, men, since they are in male bodies, they don't have the amount of sexual energy, which is creative energy, that women do. So retaining the seed for men and being able to retain that the seed of life literally inside of them makes them more attentive, makes them more creative, gets them to actually take action, right? They increase their testosterone as well, which is so important for men. So the more hypersexual, or the more that they cannot control their lust, they are in this extreme. I know a lot of people think it is this other extreme. It's not. It's not. Because at the end of the day, when you are hypersexual, you're in the fallen of Luciferian energy, and you can see this with the voices of these men. You can see it with their mannerisms. You can see with these men that they're super, super, super feminine. So this is why I always say, which is also something that contradicts the red pill community, you know, people that make those podcasts talking about women and stuff, like Andrew Tate. But those people say that the more that a man has slept with a woman, the hotter he is. But I believe that the more a man has slept with a woman, the more they have thrown away their seed, the more that they are lustful as well, and they cannot control that, which is, you know, obviously if a man is lustful, they're imbalanced, period. In the divine masculine, I've noticed that they are usually more innocent. And I'm not saying innocent like they've never had sex in their lives either. I mean, maybe. They haven't really slept too much around, right? Because not because they don't have game or they can't pull a woman, but because they respect women a lot. They not only respect women, but they also are not interested, period. These people also lack a lot of logic. So if you try to get into arguments with them, even if you present the facts to them, they will not buy it. Anyways, if I think of anything else, I'll let you guys know. But let's get into the side. This is the side that most people hate the most because they don't realize much about this side. But this is the satanic energy. Why? Because when you go to your masculine energy, you disconnect from your heart, and it becomes the overproduction or overreaction of the mind. So it goes, Satan has huge horns because the mind has grown beyond what it needs to. So it's also Saturn, right? Saturn is the most disciplined and strict and rigid and cold planet that you can find in astrology. So when you go too much into the external, you forget flow. You go too into order, you create control. So you're no longer at order. You become, instead of emotional domination, here is domination by the ego. You become very rigid in your thinking. So trying to be too rational, right? Where you actually lose touch with the magical, with the mystic, with the mysticism of life, etc. You can see here, these people are like very big on science, or they're very Christian. Okay, so they go into like the religions that have been organized already, and they have everything already, and they just get into that. This is the easiest thing to do. These are people that work a lot as well, or they just take too much action in the external always for results. Why? Because they're very greedy. So they're very greedy. They don't work for the heart, they work for results. They only care about money, they only care about the external. Why? Because they're dominated by the ego. Their ego is inflated. Right here, you can actually see narcissism develop. And the more that you go into the masculine energy, you develop psychopathy. And then you have right here, BPD, borderline personality disorder. And the more that you go into the Luciferian energy, you develop sociopathy. Now, the interesting thing about the imbalance right here, the satanic imbalance, which is the imbalance or extreme masculine energy, is that this person is a mental manipulator, right? So this person is somebody who plays a lot of mind games. They're very cold. So they're very cold. They have a disconnection from the heart. They don't have compassion for others. So this is where you see the typical masculine man that a lot of people are scared of, you know, that toxic masculinity where they try to control women, where they talk down on women, where they're like all these successful bros or whatever. But they're very disconnected from the heart, right? Like they really dismiss completely the heart. So Why do they dismiss the heart? Because if you go into an imbalance, if you go too in the masculine energy, it's because you are in a fight with the feminine energy. So these men quite literally have a fight with the internal mother. It could be because of their literal mothers, or because something in life happened where they started to hate women, right? And that imbalance externally started to reflect inside. So that's why they go into that extreme. The question I receive a lot is, Ira, if the extreme of the masculine is narcissism, why don't narcissists take accountability? Why do they throw the blame outwards? Why do they do these things in the extreme of the feminine? That's a good question, because these two merge. So these two merge. Because just because somebody is in the imbalance of the masculine energy doesn't mean they don't have feminine energy. They have it, just repressed. Carl Jung says what you repress persists. That is why these people right here, they're not just in the extreme of the masculine energy, my love. They're going to be also giving you, aspects or qualities of the Luciferian imbalance, because at the end of the day, these two also merge. Okay, these two, when they're balanced, they merge, but when they're imbalanced, they also swing back and forth. You have the principle of rhythm and hermeticism. The pendulum swings to the left as equally as it does on the right. So it's really important to understand that these two are gonna merge. This is why the imbalance, right? Somebody could be more here or more there, yes. But these people are also going to be showing signs of this other side. So for example, if you come across a person who is leaving you, standing you up, like they don't make plans with you, they don't show any interest, right? Obviously, yes, they're more here, but when you start to meet them, they love bomb you. They make you feel special or whatever. You're going to be able to see some qualities of this. One that I've seen a lot are, once again, these like spiritual men who start to create these cults or these sort of practices saying it's tantra. Tantra's not even about sex. It's been like super misused. But they say, oh, well, if you sleep with me, I'm gonna be able to heal you through sexual energy or whatever. They're hypersexual men. You can also see these in polyamory. This is why these bros right here, they're like, oh, well, if I and marry somebody and I'm rich, I should have the right to cheat. Babe, you are just a lustful man. You have imbalanced feminine energy inside of you, right? But they present themselves as these extreme masculines. So remember, these two merge in many cases. So watch out for these aspects. When they show up, and you need to listen to them. I never once was able to see any of that with the person that I'm with. And I am telling you right now that if they have these qualities, baby, you need to run, right? I understand, for example, a man, when you meet them, they could be a little bit more here. They don't have much going on for themselves. They meet you, they really like you. They show you, they spend time with you, they show quality time, but they don't have much going on financially. So if you let them know like, hey, I need you to fix this, and they actually take action, and you can start to see that every single day, cool. Now he's starting to balance himself out again, right? Or if you meet somebody who's more here, they're very cold, they're not very in touch with themselves, but then they start showing interest in you, right? And you let them know, hey, like, I would feel better if you were like this, and this. It would really help me because it would also balance you out, whatever. If they start to show improvement and they actually take action with their patterns, and you can see that every single day, you got somebody there that actually is, willing to stay for. Let's just say, because not everybody that you meet is going to be in the nice, beautiful balance. My husband, when I met him, I think he was like more here, right? And then when I met him, he started to balance himself out because I gave him that vision, right? So the one who is really going to make it happen for you is going to take action, is going to take accountability, and is going to change their ways for you. But if you don't see that after you have told them, no. So remember, the divine masculine doesn't need to overpower you to stay strong. You guys submit to one another. One of the biggest myths is that women are supposed to submit to a man. If I would have submitted to him, he would still be at his parents' house. He's telling me how. So listen to me. Men and women are meant to submit to one another. And as you can see, Now you know why. Now you know why, because a woman, when she's in her feminine energy, she is the compass for the entire relationship, for the life that you guys built together. She has the vision, she has the heart, and then the masculine actually makes it happen, right? Of course, me and him are working together. Like, my business is his business. We're working together in this whole thing, and we're building an empire together. But he allows me to be more of my creative while he actually structures the whole thing. I mean, that's business wise, but I'm sure you guys can get the idea of what I'm trying to say right here. We submit to one another, and this is super important to understand. The divine masculine nurtures while still keeping discernment. He doesn't let people walk all over them. Oh, that's another thing right here, is lack of boundaries. Super important. Because of course, when you don't have protection and your ego, your strong identity, you're gonna let people walk all over you. Anyways, guys, comment down below if you want to know how to attract a divine masculine, because I'll definitely make a video about that. There's obviously a new paradigm happening where healed feminine people, right? Because we don't all heal, but more women in their divine feminine are starting to meet men that are in their divine masculine, and together they don't just date or have a relationship. They literally build kingdoms, they build empires. So as you can see, the problem was never masculinity. The problems were always their wounds, either going too in the feminine, which is happening more now, or going too in the imbalance of the masculine energy, especially what we've seen with patriarchy, etc. Patriarchy is definitely on that end. But yes, I hope this video actually gave you some hope, because there are divine masculines out there. I've seen them. I'm married to one. My friends are with them, right? So it exists. You need to stop believing that they don't, right? And almost ranting against them. And you also need to believe that you are worthy of it, which is the biggest thing. It's time we call the divine masculine back into this world. And if you're a man watching this, well, I hope you enjoyed this and that you actually do take action, because we need you, man. We really do need you in this world. Okay, so I'm Ira Morphy. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.